Hey, you guys. Hey, you guys. Let's go ahead and get straight to the subject. So, this story came out of Miami, Florida, where a 12-year-old girl was raped by three teenage boys, one aged 12, 13, and 15. And so, they were arrested. But here's the thing, the judge wants to charge them as adults, but the parents are putting up a fight. So let's go ahead and get into the article. And shout out to the chat. Peace, brother. How you doing? Excuse me. Let me go ahead and clean my glasses. Make sure the glasses clean. All right. So let's go ahead and get into this article. So this article comes out of Miami. It says two teens arrested in rape of girl 12 in Miami to remain in custody plead not guilty. All right. So it goes on to say emotion ran high in a Miami courthouse on Monday as attorney for two out of three boys charged in the rape of a 12-year-old girl entered not guilty pleas on their behalf. The minors who are being charged as adults did not appear in court and remain behind bars as their family dispute police report and push for their release. During the hearing, one of the boys' mothers sat in the gallery and was visibly emotional as attorneys argued that her son should not be held in an adult jail. But the judge wasn't moved to act and set a date for a future hearing on that matter. It's not true, one mother said after the hearing ended. The three suspects, ages 12, 13, and 15, were initially arrested after the alleged rape that happened on June 18th of 2025 at a community garden in Miami, but records show two of them were booked into the Metro West Detention Center on Thursday to face adult charges. A grand jury indicted the boys on various charges, including kidnapping and false imprisonment. According to arrest forms, one of the boys grabbed the girl and took her to a couch while the other two held her down. The report claims one of the boys put rocks in her mouth to stop her from screaming while another boy raped her. The victim told detectives they finally stopped after hearing her father call her name, the report said. Outside the courthouse, the father of one of the suspects disputed the allegation. He is not the child you guys are making him out to be. He said, this is a 12-year-old boy we are talking about. We are going to leave him in jail and put a life charge on a young man that was with the wrong two kids. Let me read that again. We are going to leave him in jail and put a life charge on a young man that was with the wrong two kids. The boy's family is disputing the police report. You guys are making him out to be a rapist, which he is not, the father said. These allegations are bogus. Defense attorney Bojan Sebastian said he entered not guilty pleas on all charges for his client, as did the attorney for another team. We both will be fighting hard to get our clients out of jail, he said. For now, the boys will remain in custody until an Arthur hearing on March 18th, where a judge will decide whether they will continue to be prosecuted and held as adults. The 15-year-old also faces sexual battery charges. His case was reset and transferred to another judge. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about this. Let's get into it. You know, it's very hard. It's a very hard situation, and it's hard to deal with the reality that your own child would be charged for a heinous crime. But let's keep it real, parents. You don't know everything that your child is doing. You may think that your child is one way, but when you're not watching or monitoring what is going on, they are somebody totally different. Now, the people that was involved in that situation, according to the article, was the young lady and those three boys. All right. Now let's keep it real. Kids play stupid games. Okay. They do stupid stuff. Whether it come down to taking advantage, using extortion, they do those type of things. And you have to be mindful of who your kids are hanging around with. Because it's not just adults abusing children. It's also children abusing kids as well. Now, this is a 12-year-old girl. And the father say, well, she's lying. And as parents, you want to believe that your kids are innocent. They would never do anything harmful. But you have to really investigate and check more into the resources. You have to find out more information before you just say that your child would never do something. You know, and I saw the video where the father was like, y'all want to lock a black boy up, a 12-year-old, and y'all want to try him as an adult. Again, I get it. Those children are underage. So should they be in juvenile? Yeah, they should be in juvenile. And then when they get old enough, they should go to the adult prison. Hmm. They should go to the adult prison when they get old enough. But kids gonna have to learn consequences. They gonna have to learn the hard way at times. You know, it's certain things that you can't get away with doing in life to people. And rape is one of them. You know, they thought it was fun and game to put rocks in this little girl's mouth. Now she has to grow up with the fact that she may not have a great relationship with men because of what these young men did to her. And I say that the parents are at fault because the parents, it sounds like to me that the parents are not giving out discipline. This is one of the reasons why I do advocate for child's being whooped. Like, seriously, I'm sorry. I advocate for spanking. You know, all that gentle parenting, yeah, that's cool and dandy, but you can only go so far with gentle parenting. You can only go so far with being gentle with your kids. Sometimes you're going to have to put your foot down. Sometimes you got to put your foot down at your child and let them know, no, this is not how it's going to go down. This is not what you're going to do. So it sounds like the father was a little inconsiderate of what happened to the little girl. And also the mother of the teenage boys, she said, "Oh, that's a lie." Not hearing the other child's side of the story. But we have to also look at where these kids learn these behaviors from. They had to learn it from somewhere. How did they, or what made them decide that it's okay to try to violate a young lady that's in their age group? Where did they learn this behavior? Well, then you got to look at the adults. Somebody around them were doing certain things to where they thought in the back of their mind it was cool. She could be lying. It might have been consensual and she got confused. Let me tell you something, baby. Let me tell you something. Ain't nobody gonna consent to getting some rocks put in their doggone mouth and let somebody take advantage of them. Ain't nobody gonna do that. Ain't nobody in their right mind is going to consent to a person putting rocks in their mouth to keep them from screaming and take advantage of them. That just doesn't work like that. It does not work. It's that's insanity. That's insanity. I cannot see, or I never heard anyone would be okay with somebody putting some type of object in their mouth to keep them from screaming. So again, parents, you gotta sit down and talk to your kids about who they hanging with. And the schools have to make it their business to talk about abuse and sex education. You got to talk about abuse with these children. You got to bring sex education in the as a requirement as part of the curriculum. There is a reason why. Because these kids need to know what to do when somebody's touching on them and how to respond. And you know what's sad about this? A person who's a rape victim would not receive protection from society. Most of the time, they don't even get therapy. Now, like I said, this little girl gonna have a mentality growing up where she is not gonna be able to trust a lot of men, and I hate to say it, she's not gonna really trust a lot of black men at that, because her attackers were black boys. And that's the hurtful and painful part about it. So, once again, abuse does not always come from adults, it can come from children as well. And we think, well, kids are just kids. Yes, true. Kids are kids. Kids gonna do what kids do, but at the same time, there is a level, or there's gotta be a line to put there as far as like boundaries are concerned, to make sure that they don't cross those boundaries. If you don't set the boundary for those kids, they're gonna think that they can get away with doing whatever. They're gonna think it's okay. Now these little boys getting ready to spend their time in the adult prison. Hopefully they'll go juvenile first and then they'll go to the adult prison. They done jeopardized their lives. They really jeopardized their childhood. But it's not 100% their fault because they learned it from somewhere. However, they have to deal with the harsh reality. And see, in our community, it's crazy. Because for little boys and girls, for boys, they are taught that if you get a certain amount of females, right, that you have sex with, you are a man. So these little boys think their idea of manhood is getting some pussy. That's their idea of manhood. Their idea of manhood is going around beating somebody's ass. Their idea of manhood is selling drugs or being involved in a gang. In other words, that's their rite of passage in our community a lot of times for the boys. And for the girls, the rite of passage to womanhood is how good you look. Are you the pretty girl on the block? Or are you a virgin? Or are you not a virgin? Can't you pop your shit? Can't you talk your shit? Can't you fight? That's your rite of passage as a female. And also, can't you cook? But more so, can't you fight? Can't you finesse? Can't you talk your shit? Hmm. Are you the prettiest girl on the block? Are you the eye candy? These are what we call or what we confuse rite of passage with in our community because there is a lack of structure. But then when the reality kicks in, people realize it will it only served the purpose at that moment, but it's not going to help in the long run. Because things can spiral out of control. When you got a group of young men thinking that their manhood is based on how much pussy they get and how well they can fight, that could be dangerous. Because now you created a bunch of men who are hypersexual and they cannot control their sexual urges. And that's dangerous for a male who does not have any control over his sexual desires. It becomes very dangerous because now you put those women around you in danger. And those women are not able to trust this man or a certain group of men because they're worried that they're going to be violated. They're going to be taken somewhere in a unknown location, and right there they'll be taken advantage of. I mean, it, it's really sad. It's really messed up on all angles. I feel for the parents of that little girl, and I understand the angers that the parents have for those boys. But at the same time, this is what happens. Everybody can't give you access to their body. You gotta understand the word no means no. They taught us that in school. No means no. You know, Parents, you gotta teach your son that if a female says no, that's just what it is. And she's not obligated to give up anything. She's not obligated to engage into no type of activity. Especially if she's not attracted to you. They got to learn how to take rejection. Your sons got to learn that, hey, every woman is not going to want to be with you. Every woman is not going to want to jump in the bed with you. And you got to take that. And you have to teach your daughters that the value of her as a woman is not just based on her body, but her mind. So the value of being a woman is not based on your body, it's your mind. And you got to teach her how to speak her mind. You got to teach her how to protect herself. And what to do if she get in a situation like this. This child was gang raped. She was gang raped. And she has to live with that for the rest of her life. She got to replay that over and over again. It's going to take a lot of recovery. People want to say, she lying. She lying. How do you know? And then there's a big debate about what should a 12-year-old or 13 or 15-year-old be charged as adult. And then I'm surprised that I haven't heard anything about, oh, the black man always this, the black man always that. I'm surprised I haven't heard anything from those individuals. I mean, we've been through a lot in this country. We have. We have been through a lot as a people. We have suffered a lot. But we also have those who make decision as far as what type of lifestyle they want to choose, how they want to live. And you have to face those consequences and repercussion of your own action. You have to face the consequences of repercussion and and your consequences of your own action. You have to. So whatever decision you make in life, it's going to have an impact on you, and it's going to have an impact on those around you. So you have to take ownership of that as well. You know, we can't always, we can't always sit up here and say, the white man did this, the white man did that. We know what the system have done to us, but what are we doing to ourselves? What are we doing to our people? What are we doing in our community? Why don't we have these tough conversations? If we love our community so much and love our people as we claim, why don't we have those tough conversations? Why don't we talk about the abuse? Why don't we talk about rape? Why don't we talk about domestic violence? Why don't we talk about the kidnapping happening in our community? Why don't we have these tough conversations? Why don't we address those family members who have been accused of committing a heinous crime towards a child or somebody that's disabled or whatever the case may be, anybody that's innocent? Why don't we sit down and call that person out in front of everybody and hold them responsible? Why don't we do that? Somebody put, hip hop music has ruined some of your culture and too many kids with no fathers in their lives. Well, we can't just blame everything on hip hop. I mean, you could talk about the music, but it goes beyond the hip hop culture. So let's just say you take away hip hop music. People gonna still go out here and commit crimes. People gonna still go out here and do all kind of heinous acts. And as far as it's too many kids with no fathers in their household, okay, I agree, but I agree to disagree. I agree that, the lack of father not being in the household means that there's a lack of structure. Okay. I do agree with that. But also, just because you come out in a two-parent household does not always mean that everything is going to be productive. There's people who was raised by both parents and came from a very dysfunctional background. There's people who was raised in a very productive household. However, once they got into this world and got around certain people, those individuals impacted their decision. And there are certain ones that was caught up with the wrong crowd of people and became a victim. So we can't always say, well, it's the household thing. Now, in this case, with those kids, we got to look at the parents. We got to look at what is going on with the parents. How are they raising their children? Who did they allow their children to be around in this situation here? So it's multiple factors. Society influenced people. Again, society influenced people. And then I like how you said this. Sometimes two evil parents is worse than one good parent. Absolutely. Well said. Two parents. Sometimes two evil parents is worse than one good parent. So just because you got two parents does not mean they are very productive. And that's why it's bigger than just the crime. It's really an issue with the human condition. You said the key word, the human condition. I would say the human's mentality. Typical woman take the extremes and try to use it as what about ism to justify their horrible behavior. I don't understand what you mean by that statement, ma'am or sir. It boils down to your choices in life, and stop leaning on a crutch cause the broken leg will never heal. That's that's why I said, that's why I mentioned. Yes. Going back to what I was saying previously, that your choice in life can have an impact on you. So we can't always blame everything on the system when certain choices we make can bring about the greater goods, or it can bring about the worst out of us. Mm-hmm. All right, hold on, you guys. I'm sorry. Hold up. Okay. But you have to pay attention to people. And you have to pay attention to humans, period. Just because you may know somebody for a long time, and I don't know if this young lady actually knew those guys, if she if she's from the same neighborhood as them, or if they all went to school together. I'm not sure. So I don't know that background of the story, but I'm saying that just because you know somebody for a long time does not mean that they're incapable of doing anything that is heinous or horrendous. So just because you might know somebody that you grew up with does not mean they're going to be the same person that you knew when you get older. Does not mean that they're going to have the same mentality or same behavior. People change. So again, I don't know if this little girl knew her attackers. I don't know if they was going to the same school together or what, or they from the same neighborhood, but you gotta be careful who you trust. You gotta watch who you trust. And see, these kids, they don't really know because they're young and they're full of energy, they full of life. They don't know who to really trust, who not to trust. You know what I'm saying? So that's a challenging part about it. And a lot of times they don't see that until they get older. That the people they was around the whole time, who they thought they was cool with, was not trustworthy from the beginning. Wow. Somebody put, my own friend tried to get me killed backdoored, and I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt till he got creepy and weird and became hard to be around. People change fast these days. I'm sorry to hear about that. I'm really sorry to hear about that. It's really messed up because it be the people that's the closest to you. It be the people that's the closest to you that's gonna try to take you out or take advantage of you. But this is what we got to understand about humans' behaviors. We have to understand human behaviors. Humans are not going to always remain the same. At some point in time, as human, we're going to change. We're going to have a different type of attitude. And it could be for multiple reasons. It could be a multiple reason why we change as far as our character, personality, or whatnot. And that's something that we have to keep in mind. Damn. It says this person put, I had to stop hanging out with him. I knew him since first grade. That's sad. That's really sad. But I thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I just wanted to come on here and give my thoughts on this whole story. But this is one of the most heartbreaking story ever. And then I heard another one that was similar to it a while back. It was a 5-year-old little girl from Cleveland where there was kids like 12, 13 years old that took her in a abandoned building somewhere or abandoned house, and they were trying to do the same thing to her. They beat her up real bad, and they tried to violate her. So again, parents, you gotta teach your kids how to pay attention to the people they're around. And you gotta teach your daughters and son, but more so your daughters, how to say no. When no means no, that's period. No means no. You know, it's a cold world out here. It's a cold world. And everybody is not here to be your friend. Everybody don't have your best interests. But I'm gonna leave you all with something real quick. Coming up as a kid, I used to watch Scooby Doo. If you guys remember the show Scooby Doo. So in the show, it was about solving mysteries, right? Now, this is what makes it so ironic. In the very beginning, right? In the very beginning of the show, in the very beginning of the show, everybody's cool. Everybody's hanging out with each other, laughing, having a good time. Then all of a sudden, somebody disappeared, and there is a monster chasing them all around the area, right? There is a monster chasing them all around, whatever, right? So once the monster chased them all around and things like that, right? They trying to figure out, well, who is this monster? Who is this creature that's coming after us? At the very end, guess what? They pulled the mask off and they found out that the monster was somebody they knew from the beginning. Now, that was strange. You know what I'm saying? I never caught on to that as a child because I was caught up in the entertainment. I was so entertained by that. I didn't get it. I didn't get it as a child. But now looking back at it as an adult, I said, wow, that was a lesson. That was a hidden message in Scooby Doo. But anyways, y'all, I got to get off of here. But I wanted to leave y'all with that thought. Y'all have a wonderful evening. Until next time, peace and power elevation. This your girl Tiffany. And I will connect with you all later. So I'll keep you guys informed about whatever subject. So yeah, just make sure you like and subscribe to hit the channel, hit the notification bell. Peace.